Ladies and gentlemen, the arbitrator, Professor Ulrich Haas.
Yeah, thank you very much for this invitation. It's a great honor and pleasure for me to be here. I have my own evidence, just to be sure that I stick with the 10 minutes, and I'm independent of any other clocks and alarms that are being set. Now, as all of you will know, arbitration is a means of dispute settlement. The mandate of an arbitral tribunal is actually to resolve a dispute between two or more parties. Now, when we look at sports, the importance of arbitration in sport is enormous. We have plenty of arbitral tribunals that are taking place in sports, and the reason for it actually is because of the specificities of sport. From my perspective, there are two characteristics which are decisive for arbitration to take such a big role in sports. The first one is the transnational character. You have athletes from around the world competing against each other. And the second, more important thing actually is the level playing field. There is no comparison of sporting results without a level playing field. If one athlete runs 100 meters and the other one runs 110, you will not be able to compare the sporting results. So the level playing field is vital. Now, in order to establish a level playing field, of course, you need uniform rules. And this is exactly what international federations do. They have rules to combat doping, they have rules to combat match fixing, they have rules on the nationality of athletes, they have rules on the transfer of athletes, they describe the rules of the game. All of that is very important. But there's a second issue which is equally important, and that is that the rules are applied uniformly. And the biggest threat to the uniform application of the rules, the biggest threat is the national courts. Because what will national courts do? National courts will apply their own law. They will apply their own law on procedure, and they will apply their own law on the substance. And everybody of us knows exactly that the laws in the various countries greatly differ. And this is the main reason why, because, I don't know, to give an example, toothpaste Baumann will be treated very differently in one country to the other. Yeah? The decision that is going to be taken in France is going to be a completely different one, even if the facts are exactly the same, than the one taken in Australia and the US or some other country. Now, in order, therefore, to have a level playing field, what we need to achieve is get away from state courts, get away from national law. This is the main prerequisite to have a level playing field. And this is also the reason why arbitration plays such a role, because most of the jurisdiction will not give up easily their competence in certain fields, with one exception, and that is arbitration, because every single jurisdiction accepts arbitration as an alternative means of dispute resolution instead of state courts. And the reason for this is because there's a super effective international convention. It's the New York Convention on the Recognition and Enforcement of Arbitral Awards. It is the most successful convention in civil and commercial matters. This convention harmonizes all the prerequisites for a court to refer a dispute to arbitration. And this is also the main reason why Haas is so successful in the world of sport. Yeah? This is the background, and at the end of the day, to make a long story short, there is no level playing field without arbitration. In addition to that, arbitration has another couple of advantages which are worthwhile to note. And one of the examples is flexibility and autonomy. You have the possibility to conduct a proceeding in any language that you want. This is vital for a transnational phenomenon like sports. You may agree on certain procedural rules because all of the lawyers come from different backgrounds. You will have common law lawyers that conduct proceedings in a completely different way than continental European lawyers. You may want to hold your hearing anywhere around the world. This is a flexibility which only exists in arbitration. Now, let me come to the second limb. If arbitration is vital, okay, we'll accept that, but is it fair? Yeah? And when we talk about fairness, of course, we need to define what we mean about fairness. What is fairness? And I would like to refer to one of the most important conventions, which is the European Convention on Human Rights. It's not the only one on human rights, but it's an important one. And it has an Article 6, paragraph 1, which defines what is understood or to be understood as a fair trial. Now, first of all, there must be independence. An arbitrator can only decide the case, of course, if he's structurally and individually independent from the parties. In addition to that, every single party must have the possibility to submit its case. And on top of that, of course, the arbitrator must acknowledge and take into account whatever party says. We refer to it as the right to be heard. In addition to that, of course, the procedure must be such that there is equal treatment of the parties. And finally, I think the most important thing is access to justice. There are a lot of different barriers to access of justice, and one of the most important one probably is costs. So we have to think about what are the costs for an athlete to access justice. Yeah, and we have to resolve this problem. In addition to that, of course, we must resolve also the issue of deadlines, because every single party must have enough time to present its case. This is both true for an athlete as well as for a national anti-doping organization, especially if you have investigations going on. In addition to that, if you look at the career of an athlete, it's short. So you need a speedy procedure to come to a solution of your case. And finally, I think what we all need is a transparent process, decision-making process to come to a good decision. So if we look at the Court of Arbitration for Sport, if we look at the CAS, do they fulfill these requirements? I think in principle, yes. Yeah, of course, there's always room for improvement. And if you look at the institution, it has evolved greatly, I think, within the last 30 years. Lots of changes to the benefit of the institution, I think, and also for the benefit of the good administration of justice. And on top of that, we have quite a few decisions now from various tribunals and courts around the world, from Germany, from Switzerland, from France, from the European Court of Human Rights, from Australia, that acknowledge that the proceedings in front of the Court of Arbitration for Sport are fair. So, therefore, let us take it from there. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you.